The massive station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness of space. It was bigger than most moons and home to thousands of different alien species. Today, the station buzzed with activity. The Galactic Council was meeting, and everyone knew something big was about to happen. Ambassador Dae-hyun walked through the long corridors of the station. His black suit was perfectly pressed and his face showed no emotion. Behind him walked Mi-young and Tae-min, the other human ambassadors. They had been coming to these meetings for 5 years now, ever since humanity joined the Galactic Council, Yayuri. 3 humans entered the main council chamber. It was a huge room shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up in circles around a central platform. Thousands of aliens filled the seats. Some looked like giant lizards, others like insects the size of cars. Some floated in tanks of water while others hung from the ceiling on metal cables. Dae-hyun took his seat in the human section. There were only 3 chairs there, much smaller than the areas given to other species. The humans were still new to the galaxy, and they were not considered very important. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. The emergency session will now begin. The speaker was Veltar, the chancellor of the Vorthak people. He was 12 feet tall with green scales and yellow eyes that glowed in the dim light. His people had been part of the council for over 2,000 years. "We are here to discuss the human problem," Veltar continued. His voice carried a tone of disgust. "In just 5 years, these creatures have spread to over 50 star systems. They build colonies without asking permission. They mine resources without following proper procedures. They are chaos in physical form." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Dae-hyun felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. This was not the first time the council had complained about human expansion. A new voice spoke up. This one sounded like wind chimes mixed with the buzz of angry bees. It came from Zilneth, the hive queen of the Cathara. Her body looked like a massive praying mantis made of silver metal. Thousands of smaller versions of herself surrounded her seat. "The humans are unpredictable," Zilneth said. "My children cannot read their thoughts. They make decisions that no logical mind would make. Yesterday, a human colony ship flew directly through a solar storm to reach a planet. Any sensible species would have waited for the storm to pass. They saved 3 days of travel time," Dae-hyun said, standing up. "And they had proper shielding. No one was hurt." "That is exactly the problem," Veltar replied. "You take risks that could kill your entire species. You expand too fast. You do not follow the established order." Mi-young stood up next to Dae-hyun. She was shorter than him, with sharp eyes and graying hair. "With respect, Chancellor, humanity has followed every major law of the Galactic Council. We have not invaded anyone. We have not stolen resources. We simply explore and settle empty worlds." "Empty according to who?" asked another alien. This one looked like a living crystal that changed colors as it spoke. "You humans see a planet with no cities and call it empty. But what about the bacteria? What about the simple life forms? You change entire worlds without thinking about what lives there." Tae-min spoke for the first time. He was the youngest of the 3 human ambassadors, but his voice was steady. "We follow all environmental protection laws. Every world we settle is carefully studied first. We have actually improved the ecosystems on 12 of our colony worlds." "Improved?" Zilneth's voice rose to an angry screech. "You cannot improve what nature has already perfected. This is exactly the arrogance we are talking about." Dae-hyun looked around the chamber. He could see it in the aliens' faces and body language. They had already made up their minds. This meeting was just for show. Veltar raised one of his massive, clawed hands. "The humans have been part of our council for 5 years. In that time, they have caused more disruption than most species cause in 50 years. They question our decisions. They ignore our advice. They act without consulting anyone. Because half the time your advice makes no sense," Mi-young said. Her voice was getting louder. "You told us not to colonize the Kepler system because it was too far from established trade routes. That system now feeds 10 billion people across 4 different species." "You were lucky," Veltar replied. "What if something had gone wrong? What if pirates had attacked your colony ships? The council would have been expected to send rescue fleets. We never asked for rescue fleets, Dae-hyun said. We never asked for protection. We can take care of ourselves. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Zilneth began to laugh. It sounded like breaking glass. Take care of yourselves? Humans have been in space for barely 200 years. My people have been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. And in those 10,000 years, how many new worlds have your people discovered? Taemin asked. How many new technologies have you invented? How many problems have you solved? Zilneth's laughter stopped. Other aliens began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. Veltar's yellow eyes narrowed. This is exactly what we mean. Humans are arrogant. You think your short existence makes you superior to civilizations that have lasted for millennia. We don't think we're superior, Dae-hyun said. We just think we're different. And apparently, that scares you. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Aliens clicked, buzzed, roared, and made noises that had no names in human language. Veltar slammed his hand on his desk and the sound echoed like thunder. Enough, he shouted. This is exactly why we called this session. Humans cannot work with others. They cannot follow rules. They cannot be trusted to act responsibly. Mi-young stepped forward. What are you saying, Chancellor? I am saying that the Galactic Council has decided to implement the Silence Protocol regarding humanity. The words hit the three humans like a physical blow. The Silence Protocol was something they had heard about but never seen used. It was the Council's most extreme punishment, reserved for species that were considered too dangerous to interact with civilized society. You're cutting us off? Dae-hyun asked. Completely, Veltar replied. No trade, no communication, no technological exchange, no diplomatic contact. Humanity will be isolated until you learn to behave like a proper civilized species. Taemin's face went pale. How long? Until the Council decides you are ready, Zilneth said. Perhaps in 50 years. Perhaps in 500. Perhaps never. Mi-young laughed, but there was no humor in it. You fools, you have no idea what you're doing. We are protecting the galaxy from chaos, Veltar said. We are maintaining order. You're making the biggest mistake in galactic history, Mi-young continued. You think isolation will make us weak? You think cutting us off will make us beg to come back? It has worked before, another alien said. This one looked like a walking tree with too many eyes. The Zeldan Empire was isolated for 60 years. When they returned, they were much more cooperative. The Zeldans were merchants, Dae-hyun said. They needed trade to survive. Humans are explorers and inventors. We don't need you. We never needed you. Then you will not miss us, Veltar said with what might have been a smile. The council began to vote. It was not really a vote since the decision had already been made in private meetings, but they went through the motions anyway. Species after species voted to isolate humanity. The final count was 847 in favor of the Silence Protocol, 3 against. Only the humans voted against it. The decision is final, Veltar announced. All human ambassadors will be escorted back to the Sol system immediately. All communication networks will be severed. All trade agreements are canceled. All joint research projects are terminated. Security officers entered the chamber. They were members of different species, all carrying weapons that could stun or kill. They surrounded the 3 human ambassadors. As they were being escorted out, Mi-young turned back to face the council. You don't know what you're unleashing, she called out. Humans don't break when you isolate them. We don't give up when you abandon us. We adapt. We overcome. We thrive. You have always thrived by working with others, Veltar replied. Let us see how well you do alone. Mi-young smiled, and for a moment, several aliens felt a chill they could not explain. Alone is when humans are most dangerous. We've been alone before. It's how we conquered our own world. It's how we reached the stars. And now you've given us a reason to do it again. The 3 humans were led away. Behind them, the council chamber buzzed with conversation. Most of the aliens seemed pleased with their decision. They had removed a chaotic element from their orderly society, but a few of the older species, those who had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations, sat in silence. They wondered if the council had just made a terrible mistake. On the transport ship taking them back to human space, the three ambassadors sat quietly for a long time. Finally, Taemin spoke. "What do we tell Earth?" he asked. "The truth," Daehyun replied. "We tell them that the galaxy thinks we're too dangerous to associate with." Mi Young stared out the window at the stars. "And then we show them what dangerous really looks like." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying the humans back to their corner of the galaxy. Behind them, the communication networks that had connected humanity to the rest of the galaxy went dark one by one. The silence had begun. In the council chamber, Veltar was already pull. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council activated the silence protocol. On Nexus Prime Station, Chancellor Veltar reviewed the daily reports about human activity. He expected to see evidence of failing colonies, desperate rescue missions, and internal fighting among human worlds. Instead, he saw nothing. "Still no signals from human space?" he asked his aide, a small blue creature with too many arms. "None, sir," the aide replied. "No distress calls, no trade requests, no diplomatic messages. Complete silence." Veltar frowned. This was not what he had expected. The humans should be struggling by now. They should be begging to rejoin the galactic community. On the other side of the galaxy, Earth was very much alive. In the capital city of Geneva, President Kyung-ho stood before the United Earth Assembly. The massive hall was filled with representatives from every human world and colony. Kyung-ho was a tall man with silver hair and steady hands. He had been president for 3 years, but the silence protocol had changed everything about his job. Instead of managing relationships with alien allies, he now had to prepare humanity for complete independence. "Friends," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "6 months ago, the galaxy abandoned us. They decided we were too dangerous, too chaotic, too unpredictable to be part of their civilized society." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some angry, some worried, some excited. "They expected us to fail," Kyung-ho continued. "They expected our colonies to collapse without their technology. They expected us to come crawling back, begging for forgiveness." He paused, looking out at the faces of humanity's leaders. They were wrong. Applause filled the hall. It started slow but built into a roar that shook the building. "Today, I announce the Phoenix Initiative," Kyung-ho said when the noise died down. "Like the mythical bird that rises from ashes, humanity will emerge from this isolation stronger than before." In the front row, Dr. Sora leaned forward. She was the head of Earth's Quantum Research Division, a small woman with bright eyes and hands that were always stained with chemical burns from her experiments. "The Phoenix Initiative has 3 goals," the president continued. "First, complete technological independence. We will develop our own solutions for every piece of alien technology we currently use. Second, economic independence. We will create closed-loop resource systems that can sustain our colonies without any outside trade. Third, military independence. We will develop defenses that can protect us from any threat." Sora stood up. "Mr. President, my team has already made significant progress on quantum manufacturing. We can now create any element or compound from base quantum particles. We no longer need to trade for rare materials." More applause. Other scientists and engineers began standing up, sharing their own breakthroughs. Military strategist Jun Woo spoke next. He was a serious man with scars on his hands from his time as a combat engineer. "Our defense research has produced new shield technologies and weapon systems. We've also developed stealth capabilities that are far beyond anything the aliens have shown us." Biologist Hyojin stood up from the back of the hall. "The terraforming projects are ahead of schedule. We can now transform dead worlds into garden paradises in half the time it used to take." President Kyung-ho smiled. This was exactly what he had hoped to hear. Meanwhile, on the frontier colony world of Kepler 442b, Governor Dong-Su was dealing with a different kind of problem. He stood on the observation deck of the colony's main building, looking up at the night sky through the dome that protected the settlement. Dongsu was a practical man who had spent most of his life building things. He had helped construct the first lunar colonies, then the Mars settlements, and finally this world on the edge of human space. He knew how to spot problems before they became disasters. And right now, he was looking at a big problem. "There," he said to his security chief, pointing at a small dot of light that moved too regularly to be a natural satellite. "That's the third one this week." Security Chief Hana followed his gaze. She was young for such an important job, but she had proven herself during the colony's early years when pirates and equipment failures were constant threats. "Alien probe?" she asked. "Has to be," Dongsu replied. "They're watching us. The question is why." "Maybe they want to see how quickly we fail," Hana suggested. Dongsu shook his head. "If they just wanted to watch us fail, they'd use long-range sensors. These probes are close enough to scan our technology, our population, our resource usage. They're studying us." The governor turned away from the window. "Double the patrols. I want to know everything about those probes. What they're made of, what they're scanning for, where they're sending their data." "Yes, sir," Hana replied. "Should I report this to Earth?" "Not yet," Dongsu said. "Let's gather more information first. But Hana, if the aliens are studying us like lab rats, they might be planning something more than just isolation." Back on Earth, the Phoenix Initiative was moving faster than anyone had expected. In her laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Sora worked with her team of quantum engineers to solve the biggest challenges of human independence. "Show me the latest results," she said to her assistant Jinho. He was fresh out of university but brilliant with quantum mathematics. Jinho activated a holographic display. "We've successfully created industrial diamonds, rare earth elements, and even antimatter using the new quantum fabrication process. The energy requirements are high but well within our fusion reactor capabilities." Sora nodded. "What about the complex compounds, medical supplies, advanced electronics components?" "Also successful," Jinho replied. "We can now manufacture anything we need given enough energy and time." "Time," Sora repeated. "That's still our biggest limitation. How long to produce enough quantum fabricators for all human colonies?" "At current production rates, about 18 months, Jinho said. "Too long," Sora replied. "Double the production teams. Work in 3 shifts. We need independence faster than that." In another part of Earth, military strategist Junwoo was having a similar conversation with his research teams. They had been working non-stop to develop new defensive technologies. "The new shield generators are 30% more efficient than anything we've seen from the aliens," reported Dr. Minsu, head of the Defensive Systems Program. "They can absorb energy weapons, deflect projectiles, and even provide protection against radiation." "What about stealth?" Junwoo asked. "Even better news," Minsu replied. "We've developed a cloaking system that bends light, sound, and even most scanner frequencies around our ships. As long as they don't get too close to something with advanced sensors, our ships are invisible." Junwoo smiled grimly. "And weapons?" "Ah, that's where it gets interesting," Minsu said. "We've created plasma cannons that are twice as powerful as standard galactic military weapons. But more importantly, we've developed something completely new." He activated another holographic display showing a sleek missile design. "Quantum torpedoes," Minsu continued. "They phase in and out of normal space, making them almost impossible to intercept. When they hit a target, they cause the target's atomic structure to become unstable." "How unstable?" Junwoo asked. "Well, let's just say that anything hit by a quantum torpedo stops existing in a very spectacular way." On the agricultural world of New Jeju, biologist Hyejin was working on the third part of human independence, making sure every colony could feed itself and maintain its ecosystem without outside help. She stood in a vast greenhouse that stretched for kilometers under a transparent dome. Around her, plants from dozens of worlds grew in carefully planned patterns. "The symbiotic relationships are working perfectly," she told her assistant, researcher Dong Hwan. "The Centauri wheat grows faster when planted near Earth soybeans. The vegan fruit trees produce more when they're pollinated by modified earth bees. What about the protein production? Donghuan asked. Even better, Yejin replied. The new synthetic biology labs can produce any type of protein we need. Meat, dairy, even exotic alien proteins for colonists who developed a taste for alien cuisine. She walked to a control panel and activated a display showing resource flows across the colony. This world now produces 120% of its food requirements, she continued. The excess is stored or shipped to newer colonies that haven't reached full agricultural development yet. So we're not just independent, Donghuan said. We're actually better off than before. Exactly, Yejin replied. Turns out that when humans aren't limited by alien regulations and procedures, we can do amazing things. Back on Nexus Prime, Chancellor Veltar was becoming increasingly concerned. His intelligence networks, which had previously tracked human expansion through official channels, were now reporting strange gaps in their data. What do you mean, no shipping activity? He asked his intelligence chief. Exactly that, sir, the intelligence chief replied. Human cargo ships have completely disappeared from all monitored space lanes. No trade vessels, no passenger ships, no exploration craft. It's as if human space travel has stopped completely. That's impossible, Veltar said. Humans have 54 colony worlds. They need constant supply runs to survive. That's what we thought too, sir. But our monitoring stations aren't detecting any human ships at all. Veltar stared at the star charts on his office wall. Human colonies were marked with small blue dots scatter. 18 months had passed since the Silence Protocol began. In the deep black space between star systems, a ship that did not officially exist drifted silently through the void. The Silent Thunder was humanity's first true stealth vessel, invisible to every type of scanner the aliens had ever used. Captain Jin stood on the bridge, watching the tactical displays that showed her ship's position relative to the alien monitoring station they had been observing for 3 weeks. She was a veteran of the early colony wars, back when human settlements had to fight off pirates and hostile alien raiders. Now she commanded a ship that the rest of the galaxy didn't even know was possible. Status report, she said quietly. Her crew had learned to speak softly, even though their ship's sound dampeners made them invisible to audio sensors. We've mapped the entire station, reported Lieutenant Wu Jin, her intelligence officer. He was young but had a gift for electronic surveillance that made him invaluable for these missions. 17 different types of scanning equipment, all pointed at human space. They're not just watching for ships. They're monitoring energy signatures, population levels, industrial activity, even biological changes. Jin frowned. Biological changes? They're tracking the genetic diversity of human populations, Wu Jin explained, looking for signs of inbreeding, disease, or genetic breakdown that might happen in isolated colonies. They really expect us to just die off, don't they? Muttered the ship's navigator, Ensign Kyung-soo. Let them think that, Jinny replied. The longer they underestimate us, the better. She activated her ship's quantum communicator, a device that sent messages through folded space-time in a way that alien sensors could not detect or intercept. Command, this is Silent Thunder. Intelligence package complete. Returning to base. The response came immediately from Admiral Seung Wan back on Earth. Acknowledged, Captain. Well done. Proceed to coordinates Alpha 7 for your next assignment. Jin smiled. Alpha 7 was not a human colony. It was deep in alien space where the Council would never expect to find human ships. Far away, in the Vega system, the illegal human colony called Haven was thriving. It didn't appear on any official maps because it had been established in complete secrecy, using the new stealth technology and cloaked construction ships. Governor Yu Jin walked through the colony's underground city, built into a network of natural caves beneath the planet's surface. Above them, the world looked lifeless to any alien scanners. Below ground, 50,000 humans lived in a fully functional society with schools, hospitals, research centers, and manufacturing facilities. Production report? Yujin asked her deputy, Administrator Hun Ki. Exceeding all targets, Hun Ki replied. The quantum fabricators are producing everything we need plus surplus equipment for the other hidden colonies. The fusion reactors are running at peak efficiency. Food production is at 150% of requirements. Yujin nodded. Haven was one of 27 hidden colonies that had been established since the Silence Protocol began. The aliens thought humanity controlled 54 worlds. The reality was that humans now lived on over 100 worlds, with new settlements being founded every few weeks. What about the research projects? Yujin asked. Dr. Yunsu's team has made another breakthrough, Hunki said with excitement. They've solved the aging problem. Yujin stopped walking. What do you mean solved? Nanoscale cellular repair systems, Hunki explained. They can prevent and reverse aging at the genetic level. The first test subjects have had their biological age reduced by 15 years in just 6 months. Side effects? None detected so far. Actually, the subjects are healthier than they've ever been. Increased strength, better reflexes, improved mental clarity. It's like they're becoming superhuman. On Earth, Dr. Yunsu was indeed working on technologies that would have seemed like magic just a few years earlier. Her laboratory was hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that had been built using the same stealth technology that concealed human ships. Show me the latest results, she said to her research team. Dr. Bongsu, her lead researcher, activated a holographic display showing cellular structures. The nanobots can repair any type of damage at the molecular level. DNA corruption, cellular degradation, even radiation damage. They're basically making human biology perfect. What about enhancement? Yunsu asked. That's where it gets interesting, Bongsu replied. The nanobots don't just repair damage, they optimize everything. Muscle fibers become denser and more efficient. Neural pathways become faster and more complex. Bone structure becomes lighter but stronger. So we're accidentally creating a superior version of humanity? Not accidentally, Bongsu said with a grin. We knew this was possible from the beginning. The question is whether we should deploy it to the entire human population. Yunsu thought about this. How long would it take? With current production capabilities, we could treat every human in the galaxy within 5 years. Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, Governor Dongsu was dealing with a more immediate problem. The alien monitoring probes were getting bolder, coming closer to his colony and scanning with more powerful equipment. They're not just watching anymore, Security Chief Hana reported. The latest probe came within 1,000 kilometers of our main settlement. It was scanning individual buildings. Did it detect anything unusual? Dongsu asked. Negative. The stealth fields are holding. To their scanners, we still look like a struggling frontier colony with basic technology. Dongsu studied the tactical display. But they're suspicious about something, or they wouldn't be looking so closely. Actually, sir, I think I know what they're suspicious about, Hana said. Our population. What about it? According to their records, we should have about 15,000 colonists, but we actually have over 60,000 now. The birth rate in human space has increased dramatically since the isolation began. Dongsu raised an eyebrow. Why? Dr. Yunsu's medical advances, Hana explained. Better nutrition, elimination of disease, reversal of aging. Human women are having more children and staying fertile longer. Plus, people are living longer and staying healthy later in life. So while the aliens expect us to be dying off, we're actually experiencing a population boom. Exactly. And if they figure that out, they'll know something is very wrong with their understanding of our situation. In deep space, Intelligence Officer Wu Jin was completing his most dangerous mission yet. He had infiltrated an alien research facility that was studying human technology captured before the Silence Protocol began. Using advanced holographic camouflage and sensor spoofing equipment, he moved through the facility's corridors like a ghost. The aliens working there had no idea that a human was walking among them. In the main research lab, he found what he was looking for: detailed analyses of human technology and plans for potential military action against human colonies. Fascinating. One of the alien researchers was saying to another, human fusion reactors are actually more efficient than our own designs, but they use completely different principles. If we could reverse engineer this technology. The Council has forbidden any use of human innovations, the other researcher replied. They are considered contaminated by human chaos. Stupid policy, the first alien muttered. We could learn much from studying their methods. Wu Jin carefully recorded everything, using microscopic surveillance devices that would be impossible for the aliens to detect. What he learned made his blood run cold. The aliens weren't just studying human technology. They were preparing for war. He found detailed invasion plans targeting the most important human colonies. They planned to use overwhelming force to crush human resistance quickly, then occupy human worlds to study human society more closely. But the plans were based on old intelligence. The aliens expected to face small colonial militias with basic weapons. They had no idea about the advanced defenses, the stealth ships or the hidden colonies. Wu Jin completed his mission and escaped the facility without being detected. Within hours, his intelligence report reached every human military commander in the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Xung Wan reviewed the intelligence with President Kyung Ho and the Military Council. They're planning to attack within 6 months, Xung Wan reported. 3 main assault fleets targeting Earth, New Tokyo, and the Kepler system. They expect the war to last no more than a few weeks. Let me guess, President Kyung Ho said grimly. They plan to make an example of us to discourage other species from challenging Council authority. Exactly, Xung Wan confirmed. But their intelligence is 18 months out of date. They have no idea what they're actually facing. The president looked at the star charts showing real human territory, not the 54 worlds the aliens knew about, but the 112 worlds that actually existed. How many ships can we field, he asked. Officially? Maybe 50 older vessels that we had before the isolation, Seong Wan replied. Actually, over 300 advanced stealth ships plus orbital defense platforms around every world, plus the new quantum weapon systems. And personnel? This is the best part, Xung Wan said with a smile. The aliens expect to face a human population of maybe 20 million. Our actual population is now over 600 million, and thanks to Dr. Yun Su's enhancements, every adult human has the physical and menta. 3 years had passed since the Silence Protocol began, and Chancellor Veltar was beginning to understand that the Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. He sat in his private office aboard Nexus Prime, staring at intelligence reports. That made no sense. Explain this to me again, he said to Admiral Crixnon, the Council's military commander. Crixnon was a member of the warrior species called the Drakmari, with thick armor plating and 4 arms that ended in razor-sharp claws.
7 of our patrol fleets have vanished in the past month, Crixnon reported. All were conducting routine patrols near the edges of former human trade routes. No distress signals, no debris fields, no survivors. They simply disappeared. Ship.
Malfunctions? Veltar suggested hopefully. All 7 fleets at the same time in different star systems? Crixnon's claws clicked against the metal table. No, Chancellor. This is enemy action. What enemies? Veltar demanded. The humans are isolated. Our monitoring stations confirm they haven't left their territory. That's another problem, Crixnon said grimly. 3 of our monitoring stations have also gone offline. The automated systems show normal operations one moment, then complete silence the next. Veltar's scales shifted from green to pale yellow, a sign of extreme anxiety among his people. What do our long-range scanners show? That's where it gets really strange, Crixnon replied. He activated a holographic display showing the region of space that had once been humanity's domain. Energy readings are off the charts. We're detecting massive construction projects, industrial activity levels that should be impossible for an isolated civilization. Maybe they're building new cities to house refugees from failed colonies? Chancellor, the energy signatures suggest they're building structures larger than our biggest space stations, not just 1 or 2, but dozens of them. In another part of Nexus Prime, Hive Queen Zilnath was having her own crisis. Her psychic abilities had always been the Council's most reliable source of intelligence, but now they were telling her things that couldn't be true. My children cannot penetrate human space at all, she reported to the Council's emergency session. It is as if there is a barrier around their entire territory that blocks psychic contact. A psychic barrier? Asked Counselor Vexhai, a crystalline being whose species communicated through harmonic resonances. That technology requires centuries of development. That is what concerns me, Zilnith replied. Either the humans have made impossible technological advances or someone is helping them. Who would help them? Veltar asked. They were isolated by unanimous council vote. Perhaps someone who was not present for that vote, Zilnith suggested ominously. The thought sent chills through the chamber. There were ancient species in the galaxy, civilizations so old and powerful that they rarely interacted with younger races. If one of them had decided to sponsor humanity, we need more information, Veltar decided. Send our best spy teams to investigate. That decision would prove to be another mistake. Spy Master Yulmar was considered the Council's most skilled infiltration expert. His species, the Vorthani, could change their physical appearance at will, making them perfect for espionage missions. He had successfully infiltrated dozens of hostile civilizations over his long career. But infiltrating human space was different from anything he had ever attempted. First, he had to find a way past the monitoring equipment that surrounded human territory. The energy barriers and sensor networks were far more sophisticated than anything the Council had seen before. It took him weeks to find a gap that might allow him to slip through. When he finally reached a human world, what he found there shattered everything he thought he knew about the isolated civilization. The planet was supposed to be a struggling agricultural colony called New Sol, with maybe 10,000 residents trying to survive on basic subsistence farming. Instead, Yulmar found a thriving world with gleaming cities, advanced transportation networks, and a population in the millions. But that was not the most shocking discovery. The humans themselves had changed. Yulmar watched from hiding as humans went about their daily activities. They moved with a grace and speed that seemed impossible. He saw construction workers lifting massive steel beams with their bare hands. He watched children running faster than most adult aliens could manage. In the cities, he saw technology that was decades ahead of anything in Council space. Vehicles that floated without visible propulsion systems, buildings that seemed to be grown rather than constructed, communication devices that worked without any detectable signals. Most disturbing of all, every human he observed seemed to possess enhanced intelligence and awareness. They noticed details that should have escaped attention, solved complex problems with ease, and coordinated their activities with an efficiency that reminded him of hive mind species. After 3 days of observation, Yulmar attempted to return to Council space with his report. But when he reached the edge of human territory, he found his escape route blocked. A human ship appeared out of nowhere, its stealth system so advanced that Yulmar's sensors hadn't detected it until it was too late. The ship was unlike anything in the Council's databases, sleek, organic-looking and radiating power signatures that made his instruments scream warnings. Alien vessel, came a transmission in perfect galactic standard. You are trespassing in human space. Surrender, for be processing or be destroyed. Yulmar tried to run, but his ship's engines were somehow disabled by an energy beam that passed right through his shields. Within minutes, he found himself captive aboard the human vessel. The humans who captured him were polite, but terrifying. They moved with casual efficiency, spoke with quiet confidence, and seemed to know things about him that he had never told anyone. Spy Master Yulmar of the Vorthani Intelligence Service, said the human captain, a woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. You were sent by Chancellor Veltar to assess our current capabilities. How do you know that? Yulmar demanded. We've been monitoring Council communications for over a year, the captain replied calmly. Your stealth technology is impressive, but not impressive enough. She gestured to a holographic display that showed detailed maps of Council space, including military bases, government facilities, and industrial centers. We know about the invasion fleets being assembled at the Rigel shipyards, she continued. We know about the weapons testing at the Prakyon facility. We know about the Council's plan to make an example of humanity, to discourage other species from challenging their authority. Yulmar felt his blood turn cold. If the humans had that level of intelligence on council operations, what do you want? He asked. We want you to deliver a message to your chancellor, the captain said. Tell him that humanity appreciates the 3 years of isolation he provided. We used the time wisely. She activated another display, this one showing the true extent of human territory. Yulmar gasped as he saw hundreds of star systems marked with human settlements, many in regions of space that the Council had never even explored. Tell him that we've discovered 17 new intelligent species during our expansion, the captain continued. 3 of them are more advanced than any member of the current Galactic Council. They were quite interested to learn about the Council's policies regarding newer civilizations. You're allying with unknown aliens? Yulmar asked. We're making friends with people the Council never bothered to find, the captain corrected. It turns out that when you treat other species with respect instead of condescension, they're quite willing to share knowledge and technology. The display changed again, showing ships of strange and beautiful design alongside human vessels. Tell the Chancellor that our new allies are not bound by the Silence Protocol, the captain said. They are free to trade, share technology, and provide military assistance to humanity if needed. The Council will never allow. Yulmar began. The Council no longer has a choice, the captain interrupted. For 3 years they assumed humanity was weakening in isolation. Instead, we used that time to become something they never anticipated. She leaned forward, and Yulmar saw something in her eyes that made him afraid. We are no longer the chaotic, unpredictable species they remember, she said quietly. We are focused, unified, and very, very angry. Yulmar was released at the edge of Council space, his ship's computers loaded with data that the humans wanted the Council to see. When he reached Nexus Prime and delivered his report, the Council chamber fell into stunned silence. Hundreds of star systems? Veltar whispered. Advanced alien allies? Zilneth added in disbelief. And they've been monitoring our communications for over a year? Admiral Crixnon looked sick, but the worst revelation was still to come. The missing patrol fleets, Yulmar reported. The humans didn't destroy them, they captured them. Every ship, every crew member. They're being held at a facility in the Vega system. Prisoners of war? Crixnon asked. No, Yulmar replied. Students. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. The humans are studying our technology, our tactics, our biology, Yulmar continued. They're learning everything about us while we know nothing about what they've become. Veltar slumped in his chair. What else did they say? They thanked us, Yulmar said bitterly. They said the isolation was exactly what they needed to reach their full. 5 years after the Silence Protocol began, something appeared at the edge of Council space that made every alien sensor operator question their equipment. It was a single ship, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a pebble. The vessel was the size of a small moon, its hull gleaming with a metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Energy readings from the craft were unlike anything in the galactic database. Admiral Crixnon stood on the bridge of the Council's flagship, staring at the impossible sight on his viewing screen. Sir, his sensor operator reported, the object is requesting permission to approach Nexus Prime. Permission? Crixnon laughed bitterly. That thing could destroy our entire fleet without breaking stride. What kind of weapons readings are we getting? That's the strange part, sir. No weapon signatures at all. But the power output from that vessel is greater than our entire space station. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Veltar received the message he had been dreading for months. The humans had returned. The massive ship took up position a safe distance from the station and transmitted a simple message. The Terran Alliance requests an audience with the Galactic Council. Terran Alliance. Not humanity, not Earth colonies. A new political entity that the Council had never officially recognized. Within hours, the Council chamber was filled to capacity. Every member species wanted to see what the humans had become after 5 years of isolation. Many of them had already been contacted by human traders and diplomats, but this would be the first official meeting. The human delegation arrived in a smaller craft that was still more advanced than anything the Council had seen. 3 figures emerged from the ship and walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime with confident steps. The lead figure was Admiral Young-Soo, a man in his 50s who moved with the easy grace of someone completely comfortable with his own power. Behind him walked Diplomatic Attaché Nari, a woman whose eyes seemed to take in every detail of their surroundings. The third member was Tactical Officer Chang Min, young but carrying himself like a veteran of many battles. When they entered the council chamber, every conversation stopped. Admiral Young-Soo looked exactly like a human, but there was something different about him. His movements were too smooth, his awareness too complete. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly to every corner of the massive chamber without amplification. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, "I am Admiral Young-Soo of the Terran Alliance Defense Force. This is Diplomatic Attaché Nari and Tactical Officer Chang Min. We have come to discuss the current situation between our civilizations." Chancellor Veltar found his voice first. "The current situation?" "The systematic violation of Terran space by Council monitoring stations and spy missions," Nari replied calmly. "The unauthorized surveillance of Alliance worlds and citizens. The detention of our diplomatic missions to non-Council species." A murmur of confusion rippled through the chamber. The humans were acting as if they were the offended party. "You were isolated by Council decree," Hive Queen Zilnith interjected. "You have no right to complain about monitoring." "Actually," Changmin said, consulting a small device, "the silence protocol specifically stated that humanity would be left alone to develop without interference. Surveillance and espionage missions violate the terms of your own decree." Veltar's scales shifted color. "We needed to monitor your progress." "No," Nari interrupted gently. "You needed to satisfy your curiosity about whether we would collapse as you expected." She activated a holographic projector, filling the center of the chamber with a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. But this map was nothing like what the Council had in their databases. "This is the current political situation in our region of the galaxy," she continued. The map showed hundreds of star systems controlled by the Terran Alliance, but that was not the most shocking revelation. Dozens of other political entities were marked as alliance partners, trading partners, or mutual defense treaty signatories. "Impossible," gasped one of the council members. "We've never heard of most of these civilizations." "That's because you never looked for them," Admiral Young-Soo replied. "While you were comfortable in your established trade routes and familiar contacts, we were exploring. We found 47 intelligent species that your surveys had missed or dismissed as pre-industrial." The map zoomed in on specific systems, showing thriving civilizations with advanced technology and space travel capabilities. "It turns out that many species develop differently than your standard models predict," Nari added. "Some focus on biotechnology instead of electronics. Others develop psychic abilities instead of mechanical tools. A few become masters of dimensional manipulation. All of them were ignored by the Council because they didn't fit your expectations. And now they're your allies," Veltar said weakly. "Partners," Changmin corrected. "Equals. We don't rule over them or dictate their policies. We simply offer friendship, trade, and mutual defense." The holographic display changed to show economic data that made several council members gasp in shock. "The Terran Alliance now controls 37% of galactic trade," Nari reported. "Our manufacturing capabilities exceed those of the Council by a factor of 12. Our agricultural output could feed the entire galaxy twice over." "How is that possible?" demanded Admiral Crixnon. "Efficiency," Admiral Young-Soo replied simply. "When species work together instead of competing for dominance, amazing things become possible." General Hyunwook materialized as a hologram next to the other humans. His image was crystal clear, transmitted from somewhere far away through technology the Council couldn't even detect. "We should also address the military situation," he said without preamble. The holographic display changed again, now showing fleet movements and defensive installations throughout Terran space. "Over the past 5 years, the Terran Alliance has developed the most advanced military in galactic history, Hyun-wook continued. Not because we wanted to conquer anyone, but because we needed to protect our people and our allies from external threats. What external threats? Zilneth demanded. Kirby display zoomed out, showing the galaxy from a much larger perspective. At the edges of known space, massive structures were visible, constructions so large they dwarfed entire star systems. 3 years ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected an extragalactic threat, Hyun-wook explained. A civilization from another galaxy had begun constructing invasion platforms in the void between galaxies. The council chamber fell silent. This was the first anyone had heard of such a threat. The energy signatures suggested a highly aggressive species with technology roughly equivalent to our own, Hyun-wook continued. They were clearly preparing for a large-scale invasion of our galaxy. Why didn't you warn us? Veltar demanded. We tried, Nari replied. Every diplomatic mission we sent to council space was turned away without a hearing. Your silence protocol made communication impossible. So what did you do? Admiral Crixanon asked. Though he was beginning to suspect he already knew the answer. We handled it ourselves, Admiral Young-soo said simply. The display changed to show massive battles fought in the empty space between galaxies. Human ships, aided by their alien allies, engaged fleets of strange vessels in combat that had raged for months. The Terran Alliance Defense Force, along with our partners in the Galactic Liberation Front, successfully defeated the invasion before it could reach inhabited space, Hyun-wook reported. Total enemy casualties, approximately 4 million ships. Total Allied casualties, fewer than 3,000. The numbers were staggering. The humans and their allies had fought and won a war larger than any conflict in galactic history, and the Council had never even known it was happening. You protected the entire galaxy, one council member said in amazement. We protected our home, Changmin corrected. The fact that it saved everyone else was just a bonus. Scientist Sunja appeared as another hologram, her image joining the growing group of human representatives. The defensive installations you may have detected around the galactic rim are still in place, she reported. We maintain constant surveillance for any future threats from outside our galaxy. The protection grid will remain active indefinitely. What do you want from us? Veltar asked quietly. Admiral Young-soo looked around the council chamber, his gaze taking in the thousands of alien faces staring back at him. We want you to stop interfering with our operations, he said simply. Remove your monitoring stations from Terran space. End your espionage missions. Allow free passage for our diplomatic and trade vessels. And in return? Zilneth asked. In return, we continue protecting this galaxy from external threats, Nari replied. We continue our humanitarian missions to underdeveloped worlds. We continue providing advanced technology to species that want to improve their societies. You're offering to protect us? Veltar asked incredulously. We're telling you that we already are protecting you, Admiral Young-soo corrected. We have been for 3 years. The question is whether you want that protection to continue. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. The humans weren't asking for permission to become a galactic power. They were informing the Council that they already were one. President Kyung-ho appeared as the final hologram, his image commanding immediate attention. Even projected from light,